Welcome back to the iWealth podcast. Me and Mr. Brad Connors from iWealth are talking all things financial, and in particular, the emotional side of dealing with selling a business. So you've done your, 20, 30, 40 years at XYZ tire company, and there becomes this moment where it's got to go. And so you get to work on the financial side, but oftentimes the financial side is so much tied to the emotional side. When you get to that crossroads, because you get to do this a handful of times every year, right? How are you coaching people to think through that piece of it?
It's so hard, Matt, emotionally.
Yeah.
Like what I've learned is that the bottom line is if the emotional side isn't figured out, financial doesn't matter. I've helped people get the financial side figured out, and then they get to the 11th hour and they're like, nope, I'm not ready.
I'm out.
And so I think a lot of advisors, a lot of business bankers, people like that screw up when they just push numbers all day long. Like they got to get their head straight emotionally first. Like, we know a guy in town here that we just went out to his house that had a business for many years and, it was in automotive and stuff like that. Well, when you put your heart and soul into something like that, have to help them figure out what they're going to, I wrote the whole book about Fish Don't Clap as, retirement with purpose. Like, how do you figure out what you're going to retire to instead of from? Because every day it's wrapped up in that, if every day you're wrapped up into taking phone calls about video work and putting on galas and, making money for fundraisers and stuff like that. And then one day the needle stops and you don't get any more calls for help anymore.
Yeah.
And your Gmail is just junk. It's advertisement. It's nobody wants you anymore. And your text messages stop and it's spam.
It's hard. That is really, really, really hard.
And it's just you and your wife and your daughter, which is great.
Yep.
And some friends. It can be a lonely feeling. It can be lonely to figure out what that is. And so I think the best advice I have for business owners is, it's multiples of EBITDA. It's multiples of revenue. We'll get you there. Let's talk about 3 years after this business is gone. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can imagine 3 weeks or 3 months. They got their to-do list. But after you retire, after you move away from this job, what are you going to pull your heart and soul into? Is it just your marriage? That's okay. Is it your grandkids? Is it golf? Is it fishing? What is it?
Yeah.
Have you dealt with anybody like that? Like, have you seen people that were prosperous, energetic, healthy, that retired, and then you come across them like 3 years later, you're like, whoa, what?
And they're just kind of checked out. Yeah, I can think of almost countless examples of this. Getting people, and they always talk about, for guys, that 3-year mark. If you do away with whatever was giving you purpose, you got 3 years till you're done and 6 feet in the ground, right? And so I always think about that piece. It is a hard thing because you pour your heart and soul into whatever the business is and growing it, and what happens is you throw your identity in there too. Heart and soul, and you go, well, I guess the identity goes in there. Well, all of a sudden when the thing that you're putting all of that effort into goes away, you kind of by default feel like your identity goes away. And therein lies both the opportunity, right? And the scariness that goes along with it.
Right.
And you have to make a choice, right? And the choice has a ticking time bomb that has a 3-year number associated with it. Right. And so when you deal with that time bomb to it, it's like, what is the meaning that we are going to associate with whatever this next? And that's why I love this idea of what are you retiring to, and how can the future be bigger than whatever the past was, even if it's ludicrous.
Right. And there's so much that can happen. Like, let's say you had a family business. Let's say it's a farm. You have a farm, and Steve, your son, is going to be taking over the farm. And then Steve goes and gets married and gets a job and wakes up one day and he's sitting around a table having breakfast with mom and dad and says, I don't want it. I don't want it. Now what do you do? Like you're mentally wrapped up in the fact that someday you're just going to sit in a combine in the fall and pick corn, but Steve's going to run the farm. Now Steve doesn't want to. And so there's so much emotion tied in. And that's why business owners, like, you're going to sell your business. I hate to break it to you. You and I are both business owners. We're going to sell it someday. We're either going to sell it internally to a family member or a team member. We're going to sell it externally, or we're going to die with it and it's going to get sold or go away or something. So I think if people can start to do some planning, not the financial side as much, emotionally, if they can figure out, do you want to have somebody that's working for you own your business someday? Like we know with our friend here in town. Do you want to sell it to a private equity firm because you want the biggest dollar amount, don't care about what happens to it 5 years from now? Do you want to sell it and stay so that you can transition to this next phase? Like some of the most successful business owners I've seen, they don't sell and walk. They sell and stay. They sell and they get rid of the operations and they get rid of some of the headaches and HR stuff that bother them. Maybe they go back into sales. Maybe they go just on the board for a while. But they stay engaged to help the new leadership, the new owner, transition that business. Then in 3 years, they're a lot easier to walk out because they have that other lifestyle that they've been working on, the purpose built or at least thought about. Does that make sense? Like transition into it instead of cold turkey. Hard.
Cold turkey is really, really difficult. And for business owners, their version of crack cocaine is
risk or whatever they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you turn that off, if you've had 30 years of, doing crack cocaine.
Not literally.
But that's really what it is for these business owners. That is their jam, and they've got 30 years on it, and then all of a sudden you think you can quit doing that? I don't think so. Right.
And they don't spend enough time thinking about it. Yeah. There's so much involved just being in that business, living in the business, putting out fires, growing the business, taking risks, lining up the debt, all that stuff goes on that they don't get out of their business and think about what's the plan if I'm not here? What's the succession plan of this business? And who do I care about? Do I want my customers to be taken care of? So to me, I've made a lot of money. I've been successful in the business. It's not about the biggest check. I just need my clients taken care of. Or I put all my heart and sweat in it. I just need a big payday. And I've got this next passion project ready to go at church or ready to go and volunteer or ready for this nonprofit. And that's where I'm taking this cash and I'm going to go and I'm going to live out my purpose there. But they don't take enough time to figure it out. Yeah. And all of a sudden they wake up and have a health issue.
The thing that I would say too that goes along with this is a lot of people do, if they're highly spirited and motivated and successful, they do have a need or at least this vision in their head that they want to go cold turkey. And there's both a beauty that comes along with that and a danger. And I think the takeaway to it is that once you get to that moment where you're like, I don't necessarily feel useful, just do something. Like, it doesn't even matter what it is, but if you just go do something, even if you decide that you completely hate it, like that is the opportunity, right? Yeah. Because at some point you're like, my phone isn't ringing all of the time, or I don't have a million Gmails, but just go do something and go all in on it. And you'll be like, I hated that. But even the story of I hated that is at least spirited.
Learning.
Exactly. So it doesn't even matter what it is. Just pick something and go do it.
But here's the other thing. Somebody's watching this saying, okay, Matt, I've owned this thing for 30 years. Yeah. It's my whole life, as we just got done saying.
My identity.
Everything is here. But where do I go? How do I go do something different? And I would say, you and I are really good friends. One of the things that I cherish about our friendship is that you're so far out there, according to me, that you pull me out of my comfort zone. And so hang around with somebody that's willing to take some risks or do something weird or go mountain biking. Just get around the right people. Yeah. That's not business related, that you can maybe find what that next thing's about. Yeah. Does that make sense? I know I'm calling you weird, but that's okay. It's in a loving way, Matt. But seriously, hang around with the right people. Who you hang with is who you become.
There's a lot of truth to that. And if you're hitting the end of the road, just go do something.
Stay in motion.
The motion equals emotion. Whether it's positive or negative, your brain will figure out how to make it positive, even if it is bad. So.
Yeah, and put yourself out there, be uncomfortable. Be okay with being uncomfortable. I've seen business owners that'll start something like another business or a nonprofit that they don't understand. Yeah. But it's challenging to them and it's rewarding to them because they're figuring it out and it's uncomfortable for them. That's not a bad place to be either. Yeah. Challenges them.